Otherwise, it will only show you 4 points. I don't want that. And add years on top of it. Again, internally nothing changes. But as I keep telling you since the beginning of this class, a lot of things you do in Excel, especially if you're interacting with other people, is a presentation. You're telling a story. Sometimes you let, not sometimes, a lot of times you should let your spreadsheet do the talking. I don't have to separately tell them that 4.393 is years. They can read it there. That saves you time. And it doesn't distract people. It's there. They can do whatever they want with that information. Now, you're thinking, why am I thinking in years? Technically speaking, this is what it is. If you increased yield to maturity by a very tiny amount, okay? The value of the percentage change in the value of the bond is going to be that number times that tiny amount, okay? So I'm going to actually change that to, again, as an approximation. Financial duration is exact only for infinitesimally small numbers, but for a lot of purposes, it's good enough. If I pick that number to be 1 basis point, that means I need to multiply that by 1 basis point. And 1 basis point is 1% of a percent. That means I need to divide the number I get by 100. If you want to express it as percentage change. I don't know. In this case, I'm going to get to go to formats. Where are you? Here. Just going to make that percent. Now, I need to divide that by, if I'm making a percent, I need to divide by 10,000. Of course, I've written the wrong place. Here's what financial duration is, at least approximately. If the yield went from 451 to 452, the price of this bond will decrease. Remember, when rates go up, price of the bond, in fact, I should put a negative sign in front of this. I mean, I don't want the VBA to calculate the positive, but since this is a long position in a bond, I'm going to put the negative there. Value of my bond is going to go down by 0.0439%. You're saying that's not much, but remember, the yield changed by 1 basis point. I mean, that's pretty much the bid-offer spread in the markets. If this was a 30-year bond, that number is much bigger. The value of that bond is going to decrease by 0.16%. You know, if you want to contemplate what would happen if yields went up by 10 basis points, multiply that by 10. And let's see what happened to 30-year yields today. I develop these ticks all the time. And I don't remember something, I now do this. without even thinking about it. Markets, bonds, U.S. Treasuries, yes. 30-year bond rates went up by 6 basis points, okay? So if you kind of want to guesstimate what would happen, multiply that by 6. So if you own the 30-year bond, value of that went down by almost 1%. That's not a small number for a fixed income portfolio. But on the other hand, let's see what happened to 5-year yields. They went up by 4.6%. Basis points, I'm sorry. But let's look at the 5. And you lost only 0.25%. So there are 2 lessons that's coming out of this. One, everything else being the same, ceteris paribus, or if you're adventurous, ceteris paribus. Everything being the same, the longer is the maturity of a bond, the higher its financial duration, but that financial duration is a measure of interest rate risk. It tells you what would happen to bond prices as interest rates increases. Obviously, if it decreases, you make money. If it's a long position, but if you're short, you lose money. There is another thing you're going to learn from that. Let's go back to 30. This is 0.1601, right? Suppose this was a 0 coupon. What do you think is going to happen to duration? Go up, down? Just try to figure it out. Remember, other than that 1 plus y, duration is the average maturity of the cash flow, right? So if I make that 0 coupon, you know exactly what Macaulay duration is. 30. Because there is only one cash flow. I don't care what kind of weighting you use, that average is still going to be 30. And I'm dividing that by 1 plus whatever. So that means 0 coupon bonds have higher Macaulay and thus financial duration. And let's make this 0 coupon. So if these guys, a 0 coupon bond today, times 6, would have lost 0 coupon 30-year bond, would have lost about 75%. So the lower the coupon, everything else being the same, the higher is the risk, and the longer is the maturity of the bond, the higher is the risk. So either way, it's a nice little measure of interest rate risk. If I'm talking about a bond, for risk management purposes, all I have to tell you that's what's the duration. For example, there's a 3-time leveraged long-term bond ETF, TMB, I think. No, TME is the short version, but there's the long version of that. You can summarize that ETF as it has a duration of 54. Duration of 54 means if interest rates went up by 10 basis points, you're going to lose 5.4% of your investment. Okay? That's what that means. On the other hand, if interest rates went down by 10 basis points, you're going to make 5.4. At some point, I actually want to buy a long-term option on that because I believe over the next 2 years, 30-year bonds are going to be trading around 3. Whether or not that's true, that's besides the point. I want to benefit from that view if it is correct. That's how I make money on my option trades. I'm not always right, but when I'm wrong, I know how to take my losses quickly. Once I'm convinced that I was wrong in that trade. A good trader lets the profits ride until they believe that's no longer justified, but takes the losses relatively quickly. That way, for example, there's a stats in exchange rate trading. That thing, daily exchange rate trading, is so hard. The star traders have a hit ratio of 52. That means out of 100 trades they take, they're right only 52 times on the direction of the trade. I mean, you're thinking, how are you making money? By being consistent. If I went into a blackjack table or a roulette table with 52% hit ratio, I would make a killing. All you have to do is keep playing, as long as there's somebody that funds your losses, and that's what traders do. You know, the bank funds their losses. But there are a disciplined trader can make a lot of money, even with a hit ratio of 49. If you know bad positions, recognize them quickly and get out and let the profits ride. Let's stop here for today. Again, I showed you who was in your groups. I also put you in groups in Blackboard. Either way, you can see who they are. If you want to change it, or if there's somebody in that group there is definitely no way you could work with, let me know. I'll put you in another group. But if I don't hear anything by 4 today, I'm going to finalize the groups and I'm going to post your first homework assignment. You guys are already happy with your group anyway.